Adversity? Bring it. The struggle? We welcome it. Snooze on life? Never that. We are Dave Regina and Mike Pirelli, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on.
So we're back, episode 14, No Snooze Podcast. 14,
baby.
Yeah, we made it. Virtual high five.
High five,
see if we could do it.
There we go.
And we just had this amazing pod set up where it was like this, $20,000, $30,000 rig. CV hooked it up. We had suction cups. We had it all. Then boom, just like that, we're recording virtually. Why the hell are we doing this, Dave?
It's all right. I mean, we're going through, I think the title of this episode will be Epi 14, the pandemic. This is obviously in response to coronavirus, and we are practicing social distancing, and we're doing what we can to obviously stay safe. Our wives are pregnant, and, we all thought it was very important, to do this in a way to where we can keep the No Snooze podcast running, but still keep ourselves safe, right?
Yep, we're trying to be socially responsible, but give the people what they want, and I think it also will help us keep our sanity.
Yeah,
no
for
offense,
sure.
Dana.
Another, shout out to CV for being able to hook this up in a way to where we can actually, provide some good audio out there still. So
yeah, it's kind of like a game show.
Super dope. Yeah,
we're like,
right?
oh, we want to record in a hut next week, and he's like, all right, I'll figure it out.
And he said he's putting in his 2 weeks. That's funny. So before we, obviously get into the episode, I think we should, just bring some light to first responders and healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, everybody putting themselves on the front line, because this is unprecedented as we've been hearing.
Yeah, this is the most news I've ever watched, but you have to. It's a struggle of staying informed, but also not letting it get to you as far as like panic. So it's been this weird. I want to watch updates, but I also don't want to throw everything off the rails and stay positive. So it's
no, of course. But I think Cuomo, regardless of your political views, Cuomo is the governor of New York, obviously, and what he's been saying is look at the facts. So whatever side of the spectrum you're on, that doesn't really matter. But focus on the facts. And there are some alarming facts there, but obviously a lot of this gets blown out of proportion by the media. But we're just happy to be here, man, and I think it's let's get started.
Yeah.
Mikey P, I'm curious, all right? I don't want to hear that you punted this week. Give me an update on the bod, kid.
So in doing my research on what's going on with the stock market, and as the stock market declines, there's a direct correlation of my cookie intake, which is increasing exponentially.
And a decrease of your push-ups.
No.
Push-ups.
Push-ups were at 0, and now they're increasing because I'm stuck at home. I think I'm not going to make excuses. I've been okay. I haven't been great. I've been staying active, staying busy, and I think that's helping. I haven't seen a huge increase in weight, but we'll see. This is only week 1. I think if anything, the getting into a routine will set me back and get me continued on the right direction. But the reality is you are stuck quarantined, and I don't say stuck as in like I have to be here, but I kind of have to be here. Quarantined with your pregnant wife, and she's been eating actually better than I have, just as far as things. I think she's proven a point. But what about you? Have you been eating your cookies? I see Oreos on your Instagram every day.
Yeah, well, all right. Let's look. I definitely crush Oreos daily, but I put the work in to make sure I could crush those Oreos. So I've been fortunate because I do have a small gym at work, right? And not that many people have been going to work. So that's what I've been doing, for this past week. But now this is day 1 to where I am now going to be quarantined in the house. I see you smiling over there. So
well, every time you go to your fridge, you're going to be staring at those cookies. Whereas
I see 'em.
maybe, so that's
I see 'em.
7 times a day probably versus maybe once.
Relax. Everything in moderation.
I heard your nickname. Everyone was saying in the Instagram world behind your back that your nickname's going to be double stuffed.
Oh, double stuffed Reg. I like that. Wow. Wait, are they really saying that, Mike?
Listen, I'm not going to give up my sources, but the insiders have been saying that.
Oh, my God. Oh, so big news, though. So, obviously, I can't fall off the bike wagon, right? You know, I've been loving the cycling thing. So, wifey and I pulled the plug, and we ordered the Peloton. It will be here today between 2 and 4 p.m.
Pelly Reg is in the house,
Reg.
and Dana's making a coffee or something over here. I told you as soon as we record.
I got Chance barking in my ear, so I apologize to everybody.
We're just going to roll through it. It's real. Yeah, this is at-home reality. Nothing's going to be perfect anymore.
But I will tell you also on the Podbot kit, I've been very diligent with wifey, and we've hit the stores, and we're meal prepping same meals that we would as if we were going to work. So I think it's important to try to be doing the same things that you typically would do if you were going to work. So we're trying that the best that we can.
Yeah, we try to go on like a long walk with the dog and do things when you can get outside. It's super awkward to walk around town because being younger, and there are some older people in our neighborhood, they look at you like you're the problem type of thing, which is, I get it, but it's very weird to like walk, see people you know, and then go to the other side. Right. I don't know if you've dealt with that.
But yeah, no, I got you. I mean, we haven't, again, this is day one. But we'll be doing, some daily walks just to get some fresh air and stuff. So I can let you know more next time we record.
The other fallback of ours was we didn't shop quick enough. And just yesterday we were able to get more eggs. So we ran out of eggs like day 2. And you're not a movie guy, but there's a movie, This Is the End. And they
Never
have...
heard of it.
Yeah, the world's coming to an end. It's an apocalypse, and it's all comedians. But basically, there's a dude that falls asleep in the tub. He comes downstairs and doesn't know it's the apocalypse and eats everything. That's how Dana and I were day one. We had ran out of eggs, ran out of paper towels. I was like, well, this isn't going well.
Yeah, this whole thing is nuts, man. I got to check that movie out, man.
Yeah, put it on your long list.
Yeah, I definitely have a long list, but I could probably get back to you because I have a bucket list of movies. Is that ice in the background?
I don't mean to throw my hands. I literally told Dana before we started recording, as soon as we record, you can't be cooking or anything. She just did the microwave. She pulled the ice out of the fridge. I think she's doing it just to be a you know what, and she's laughing.
Oh, that's good.
No, she's trying to get shine on the pod.
That's all right. Yeah, we'll that'll bring us to the Prego update.
Well, now that Dana's breakfast is done being made, we can get into the Prego update.
Yeah. No, I mean, so let's talk about 2 things, though. How are the wives handling, being pregnant, obviously, while this whole pandemic is going on? And then, how we're responding to it? Because it's definitely a little scary.
Dana's been good. She's been positive. She hasn't left the house in a while. She's been staying busy. We've been getting some projects done. If anything, I think I'm overwhelming her with all of my work stuff, like this, or all the binders, and taking over the breakfast nook. But she's been good overall, eating, exercising, taking it in stride. I think she was made to work from home. It's her sweet spot.
You've said that before, too. But yeah, so, Karina's school is obviously closed. So now it's good because she's been trying to stay home as much as she can. Still wants to get out, get some fresh air. Been eating well, but I'm sure, you and I have been going back and forth and we've seen the articles. And what's scary is that there's not that much evidence of, what coronavirus can potentially do to pregnant women. Because obviously their immune system are compromised just being pregnant. And then you don't know, can that get into the fetus or not? So it's pretty intense when you think about it, but you can't get too crazy about it.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I've found that for myself, whenever I get not worried, but there's a lot of unknowns, I get super busy, and I just try to stay busy and do things throughout the day, else you're just sitting here and you're thinking all day.
Yeah, no, and this is a perfect example of, that no snooze mindset, though. It's if you get too locked into what's going on and you're doing the best that you can to just, stay at home, social distance yourself, be as safe as possible, that's all you can control. And we constantly talk about controlling what you can control and not worrying about the uncontrollable things.
Yep. No, I totally agree. It's been, for waking up in the morning, though, it's been a little bizarre, right? Because I'm like, I woke up at 5 the first couple days when I was quarantined. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, I have a ton of time because I'm not driving to and from work. I'm not putting a suit on. I'm trying to get dressed somewhat, but I'm not doing the full. So it's I was just sitting there and like, all right, I guess.
I gotta give you a lot of credit, man. You know, I saw you doing your push-ups on Instagram today, and we basically switched roles because I woke up. It was I think it was approximately 7 o'clock. Took a nice cup of coffee to the couch, sat there for a little bit, didn't do much. So I felt like Mike Pirelli there.
It's nice, right?
It's nice.
The funny thing is too, we talk about setting up all these things to work against our own willpower, and we know that like portion control for myself is not easy.
Oreo control is not my
Oreo control is not your forte, but now you are forced to be in and around all the temptations all day, which is different. So I'm getting kicked to the garage to do my home office, which was always the plan, but I thought maybe I could take over the breakfast nook long term. That got shut down pretty quickly for reasonable reasons. So now my phase is going to be moving everything into the basement and the garage and then building that out, which I've been procrastinating on. We'll talk about that more later, but it's...
Yeah, so that's going to basically force you into doing that.
The other thing, too, it gets me away from all the food. Because right now, I'm 2 steps away from that fridge. From
the fridge. Yeah, that's a dangerous thing, man. So speaking of the fridge, I don't know if you have a food recommendation, but let's get into No Snooze recommendations. So, No Snooze recommendations, baby. I don't have one related to food, but I think Mike is surprised.
Yeah.
I think it's something that can definitely help people because it helped me. So I am a bit of a hoarder, if you haven't known. And I have like a ton of like just old t-shirts from tournaments back in the day. I have so many clothes, old basketball shorts, tons of socks, old white tees. Like it's something that you accumulate over the years. But being home basically forced me into an early spring cleanup. And I can't believe how rewarding it was because what I was able to do was take, and I counted how many things that I donated. I donated 60 shirts. I don't even know how many socks, but then like 25 pairs of pants, 13 pairs of shorts. And then I brought it over to, one of the local bins to help out, a charity. So it was a pretty rewarding thing. And I think if everybody, focuses and locks in on that during a tough time like this, us doing things to help others out is good for the psyche and it builds some confidence there.
I didn't know you were a hoarder. I knew you liked to collect shoes, but I didn't know you liked to hoard gear. Is it all sports memorabilia?
Yeah, so like, and my wife, she's always like, throw that out. But it's literally it'll be an old tournament t-shirt. It'll say like St. Joseph's 1999, but it still fits. As you know, I was a big baby, so I've been the same size for a long time now.
I don't think I have anything from like 3 years on that fits as far as t-shirts, because all my t-shirts are cotton and I shrink them all. So I love throwing things out. I throw things out constantly.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. But for me, like even in tournaments back in the day, like I just referenced 1999. I mean, they always just give out large and extra large t-shirts, So even when you were a little kid, you have the same size things. And it was sad to get rid of it. But when I put it into perspective about, giving to a charity that can, put it to use instead of it just sitting in my closet, I feel better about it. So what do you got for us, kid?
I got I'll get away from the food recommendations.
Oh, come on. We were just talking about the fridge.
Yeah, I'm trying to not get too thick. I am starting to try to keep my hand on the pulse of the market a little more because it's becoming more of a factor in Greenwich real estate. The Dow and the market in general and Wall Street affects directly what happens in my local market. So trying to keep my pulse on that, I've started to watch a guy more that I've watched before on YouTube. His name is, I think the channel is Meet Kevin. He is a real estate agent. I think he's 29 now. But he basically talks about money in general, the stock market, what's happening now, what he's doing to prepare for a potential or an imminent recession, depression potential scenario, and just learning a little more about steps to take moving forward to try to come out stronger on the other end. He's really good, though. He goes from everything of doing a home renovation for like $600 for if you're going to rent it out in the future. Like instead of redoing a bathroom, he just glazes over everything. So he's got a lot of good content on there. Lately, it's been a lot about the coronavirus and its effect on the markets. So meet Kevin, subscribe to him. I've been listening to him for probably the last, 3 years. And then recently I've watched him every day during the crisis.
Wow, that's pretty cool. But then also it's probably even more relatable because you said he was, 29? So seeing somebody, so that's pretty cool. Seeing somebody in that same age range, going out, putting good content out, and that makes it even better.
Yeah, and his timeline is the same as far as how he's investing, which is important because a lot of people, if you take advice from someone who's 60, their outlook on what they want to do with their money and to plan for the future is a lot more shortened than someone who's 29, 30, wherever. So if you can find mentors like we talked about, if they're around a certain age, it's more effective, I feel, because then it's a lot more relatable as far as kids and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different topic right now, but it's something that's real, and it relates obviously directly to real estate, but even in local government, we have our money in certain retirement funds. So it's definitely something that we're looking at too. And it's pretty alarming when you see the, what's going on. And if you do have money invested, I know you always say this, but it's get knowledgeable on that stuff, see what's going on, especially now. Take some extra time throughout the day just to look into it and start to research it.
Well, and it's very rare that we get a situation that we're living in where everything is happening so fast. So you can see directly when someone gives a speech on the crisis, how the market reacts. Because the market ultimately is just emotion, and you'll see it go up and down depending on what's going on in life. And I'm not saying throw all your money in the market, but it's a great time to learn a little more because we're living through something that rarely happens and is probably, one of the biggest ones ever. So it's a time where we're going to be 50 years from now talking to our kids about, hey, during this, we were stuck home for a year, whatever it is, 6 months. This is the things we did, and when we came out stronger because of steps we took. So it's wild times.
That's a good point. So I know we spoke about it a little bit, but let's talk about how this whole coronavirus pandemic has basically changed our day to day. So you had mentioned like real estate obviously is hit pretty hard during a time like this, but it's not like we could just stop our careers. So what are you doing, and how have you changed your day to day?
So for me, it's been a little bit of a blessing in disguise because with the baby on its way, my whole game plan was always to work from home more and be more efficient because I feel like I love going into the office and collaborating with people and getting the energy, but sometimes the distractions eat away at your time and you're way more or less efficient. So during all of this, I've been forced to work from home, obviously, figure out the home office, but also take everything more virtual, which is something that was a competitive advantage of mine that I really haven't exploited too much yet. But now with this situation, I have to. So it's kind of like if you planned on getting into shape and then someone said, oh, you have to run a marathon, in a month. It's just compressing the timeline to get all your things organized. But what have you been, has there been anything major?
Well, I'll get to that in a second. But I also wanted to say, so how I still listen to, our podcast on repeat over and over and over again. I still constantly do that. But yesterday I was listening to the episode, and I think it was episode 2 or 3. It was either goals or habits when you were referencing, I really like going into the office, but I've been trying to find time to establish my home office. So it's just, it's interesting that now this is Epi 14 and we have that documented. So when I was hearing that back, I'm like, wow, look at that.
Yeah, and then, so like I said, I was trying to figure out something that I think Tim Ferriss says it. He says, what would this look like if it was easy to at least get the progress going? So my thought was, well, the breakfast nook is already kind of set up. All I have to do is get like an office chair, blah, blah. But then obviously when I talked about it with Dana, converting something that's so close to your kitchen into a office is probably not the smartest thing. So I have to bite the bullet and go downstairs and figure out the basement and the garage. Could be really cool, but definitely something that's a little overwhelming because I don't have that skill set right now to figure out how to do it. I started, but it's still a garage. So the next episode we record, the background might be a little different with patches in the wall and water coming out.
No, that's good, man.
So are you going to like establish a home office when you're home? Like, are you just going to sit in that chair and make calls? What's your
This is 10-page Dave's Corner right here. You know, this is where I get my 10 pages in. I'm actually up to 12 now, so it's exciting stuff.
Show them your pillow.
Oh, my pillow? Yeah, this is when I read, I keep it here and I just kind of like rub it, so it's nice. But no, work-wise, we do have a desk downstairs in the basement, and I have a laptop, so I could be pretty remote. But it's a challenging time, man. I tell you, a lot of my day now is taken up by conference calls for what's going on in not only the town, but the county as well. And this has basically forced us to move to a place to where staff is staying home because we offer a lot of programs and services throughout the town. But it's basically now challenging your creative mind because you don't know what's going to happen. So the hours that I am working, it's like, okay, I have to communicate with staff and myself, and we have to try to figure out what programs are we going to now implement when this is all over. What is our budget going to look like when this is all over? There's so many unknowns. So really all we can do is, you know, keep communicating and keep creating new ideas for potential programs that can happen. What does a summer camp look like with, instead of serving 400 people, if we had to serve 150 people? So these are all things that I'm doing, you know, on a daily basis. But fortunately, I do have a laptop. I'm accessible. So business is going on as usual, but it's a weird time, man.
Yeah, and it's nice that you have a nice big house because then you have that separate space. Like when we bought this house, I love tiny homes. I love watching that stuff and multi-purpose furniture. Yeah. So it's 800 square feet, roughly 800 to 900, which it's a good size, but we're converting.
Open, so it doesn't feel that small.
Yeah, but my point being is we're converting my old office to a nursery as we speak, getting it prepared. So that is a time where I was like, yes, we're trying to keep expenses low with a nice small house and low mortgage, but it'd be really nice to have an extra bedroom right now because a lot of people never planned from working from home this much. Yep. So it's a blessing, but also a very big stress test on a lot of things. Yeah. And while all this is going on, just like you're trying to push all your deals forward with so many unknowns. So all you could do is take it day by day and over communicate with everyone and keep touching base. And, you know, I don't have any update, but I plan on being there at, you know, tomorrow at this day. We'll figure out how to be safe. So, you know, I'm not going out as much, obviously, but there's some vacant properties I still have to prepare and make safe for other people if they go. So it's a little wild.
Right. But yeah, you got to be creative too because of the whole, you know, the virtual tours and all that stuff that you've been talking about.
Yeah, and it took me like 6 hours last night to try to put one together because I know how to do it, but if you're not recording it like on Zillow, for example, you have to download this other software, and then I had to completely learn a complete different software last night. And at the end of it was close, but it didn't work correctly. So it's a good tool that'll be useful in the future, but there's like VR stuff. I was playing around with VR. You can stand in your house and your 3D tour you took, you can walk around and it's like you're walking in that house. It's wild.
Wow. No, that's cool. And for those who don't know, Karina and I also have an investment property. This is it's a tough time because I have one full unit, which is, you know, half of the mortgage that is vacant right now. So, you know, you take that hit on top of everything that's going on, but trying to keep the stress levels down, the anxiety down for the wife, her being pregnant. It's not, you know, it's not easy, but it's a perfect example of, you know, fighting through the challenging times and the adversity like we always talk about.
And I could see, people have asked me what I think is going to happen. I could see rentals increasing because there's a lot of people that are going to be leaving New York just because of this fear. I don't know that for sure, but I would guess if you are in this situation, you're afraid of it coming back, and you realize that is, you know, ground zero right now for the situation, most likely you'll try to move to a suburb of some sort outside of the area. So I could see rentals, you know, in the near future being actually lucrative. But that's the whispers people have been talking about in the local market.
Good. Knock on wood. I hope that happens. Yeah. So speaking of that whole struggle, the setback piece, this is a perfect example of, the No Snooze podcast. This could have been a make or break time for us, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you feel the same way, but people who are basically starting passion projects, side business, you may think that it's not a good time, and everything might not be in your corner right now. But what are you doing to constantly challenge that? This is a perfect example for us to talk about right now.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's one of the best times to do something like this that is not dependent on going somewhere physically. You can do it from your house. You can create your own little studio. There's a lot of people making a lot of money just recording podcasts or video on topics they like to talk about. And now more than ever, there's people looking for entertainment with sports being canceled and these big live events. So it's I wonder if we didn't start anything yet, would this be the push that would have taken if timing was different, possibly.
Yep. But then also to be transparent with people, our listens are down, probably 50% because people aren't going to work and listening like they usually do. Right. And we're still getting the listens, but it's not coming in the way that it typically does. So that does something to the psyche too. So you're taking all these hits, one by one. And then that's when a lot of people eventually tap out. Even something like this, I don't know how this could be an exciting time for CV. He has all this great equipment, and then here we are just utilizing our own cell phones and recording a podcast. Yeah. So what happened to all the cameras and that type of stuff? And obviously we're going to go back to that at some point, but it just makes you think, there's so much negative, I guess, that you can look at, but it's the perspective that ultimately brings us back to saying, you know what? No, we're in this for the long haul. This is part of the process. This is part of the journey. And between the three of us, we're making it happen.
Yeah, and if it's a reality that's going to be in the foreseeable future, getting it figured out as quickly as possible and then just adjusting and pivoting. Part of progressing and being successful in anything you do, business, life, whatever, you got to be flexible. You got to go with the flow. Someone compared it to being a river. You kind of, when there's a rock in the way, the river kind of just shimmies around it and it keeps moving forward. So we're doing our shimmy right now. And I think we're doing it pretty well.
When you said shimmy, it reminded me of you and the guy in the club doing the pick and roll.
He commented on something recently. I think it's Big Rose or something is his name. Oh,
Big Rose. Shout
our
out
basketball season got canceled. So we won. And we won a buzzer beater. Well, not a buzzer. We won by 1 point. We held on, but we beat one of the better teams. So it was we're champions. It's perspective. Yeah, so we won the league. Thanks for no help. Appreciate it.
Right. Hey, listen, man, my toe, I told you. But it's actually, I was coming back next game, man. That sucks.
Yeah. You're on your way. Hold on, I'm on my way.
Yeah. But even in terms of and then it's finding new opportunities. You've been obviously more active now on the social media piece, not only for social media, but in terms of the No Snooze podcast, just because of the time frame. So it's taking the time now that you have, implementing it into something that you might not always be doing. Like you had said before, in terms of the nursery, right? Switching back to the whole pregnancy thing. I am not a handy dude by any means, but now I am painting the nursery. We're figuring things out, and it's really not that bad, So you could basically find new passions for things, and you just look at things differently to try to get things done.
Realistically, too, and I don't mean to say this to scare a lot of people, but you should be taking this time to figure out what jobs are going to be required once we get out of this thing, because there's going to be a lot of money loss. And there's going to be a lot of cutbacks in general in the whole world. So think about the things that are going to be needed when you come out of it. And this is a perfect time to go on YouTube, to take an online course, to do things that position yourself and your family so when you come out that you can generate income. There's a lot of virtual opportunities in general, being virtual assistants for people, going through blogs, editing videos, a lot of things you can do to stay busy and make income while you can't go to work physically.
That's awesome. And there'll be a specific example, because there was a question that came in from somebody in Atlanta, and it was referencing, basically a small business. So we'll get to that in a second. But then talk a little bit about your, I know your mindset when it comes to being healthy, and we have all these jokes and stuff like that. But how do you not just completely fall off the bandwagon in a time like this? You know, like, and talk about like the, you know, even like the eating piece. Give me something that you're doing to combat the constant urge to be in the refrigerator since you're 2 feet away from it.
So putting myself in the basement so I'm farther away. PD agrees. Putting myself in the basement so I'm farther away. Bringing in all the foods that I usually have in my car that are my snacks. So like today I did my coffee, I did my protein bar, and then at, I don't know what time it is now, but around noonish I'll have my protein chips. So trying to keep as much as possible. And yes, you're going to fall weak at certain points. But if, like you said, you can keep that 80% decent, then you can get a little momentum back. So it's for the food thing, I think it's just keeping things that are healthy around and cooked. So you put yourself in position to be beneficial. You can order out if people feel comfortable ordering out. That's a good way to do it. They have meal prep plans that are still rolling, so you could do that. To be honest, this week was just trying to figure it out. Did you see? I mean, this is your first real day. You've been doing your things. What are you doing even now to get ready for next week? Are you still?
So yeah, well, we prepped early. We actually went out and did the food shopping early, which I think people need to do. It seems like, and again, this will come out in a week from where we are today. But at that point, you know, things might be really shut down. I think grocery stores, they're saying, would stay open. But forcing yourself to continue to do as many things that you usually do on a typical workday is where we're at. So I bought some extra, you know, ground turkey. I have that frozen right now. And then you have all the time in the world to prepare. So to me, and I don't mean to sound, you know, rough around the edges here, but it's a really good opportunity to get on track. You know, yes, right now you can be off track in terms of your mindset, but there's really no excuse because you have all the time in the world, unless you're obviously on that front line. But for most of us, you know, it's put it into a place to where you're thinking, thank God we're able to do this right now. You know what I mean? And please don't cough right now, Mike. Now's not the time to be.
I have allergies, so everyone's looking at me like I've been holding in like the drip. You know, when you're like talking to someone, you just got to clear your throat. I've just been sitting there like trying to hold it in. It's tough time for allergy people.
For real. All right, so people obviously have some time to write in. And again, if your question doesn't get answered right away, like I pulled a couple from, a couple weeks back that are now a little bit relevant. So Sammy wrote in and it said, I know there are 1 million at-home routines for body weight, but can you provide me with one that I can follow on a consistent basis? And this is a good point, right? Because I almost feel this way too. You could basically be so overwhelmed at times by trying to find something to do. So even though I can put together a quick little routine for you, it's taking that routine and then following it over and over and over again. Does that make sense to you, Mike?
Yeah. Beachbody has like a free thing going on too. Just want to throw that out there.
Well, no, that's super cool because I know Planet Fitness was doing something for free. I think Peloton is even doing something for free on the YouTube channel. You don't have to have the bike. I think they're doing body weight stuff. But now's a really good time. But I have a very simple one that really anybody can apply, and I posted it to Instagram. Obviously, she didn't see that, so I'll mention it. But it's basically getting out first and getting 2 miles in. Right, so whether you're walking it, jogging it, or running it, Mike is like walking,
extra points for walking.
Yes, that could take you 40 minutes to do those 2 miles if you're walking. So it's not that long of a period of time. But you going out and you doing that, and obviously keeping your social distance, is going to stack. So 5 days of that is now 10 miles for the week. Right, then you come home from those 2 miles, and now you get into like a little body weight routine. And it's all simple stuff. Everybody can do it, males, females. So what I'll throw out there is doing a set of 50 jumping jacks, 10 sit-ups, 10 body weight squats, 10 toe touches, and then 10 burpees, right? Then you take a break, and then you repeat that 5 times. And before you know it, you just got in 500 additional reps of body weight stuff. So that's a simple routine. You know, I know Mike likes to do his push-ups, which, by the way, Mike, I do have to say your form is impeccable.
Thank you. There's a lot of people on Instagram, and you're going to hate me for saying this, and I tell them directly, terrible push-up form. Terrible. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but I'm definitely doing better than some people. Some people are like, It looks what are you doing? Tap that nose. You might break out every once in a while like myself, but you got to tap it.
You got to give it the tappy or else it doesn't count.
Exactly. It gets the deepness. But I just love push-ups because they're very straightforward. You can count them. It's something that I figure the Army does. So it must be good for about, I don't know.
Is it good? Let me ask you a question, Mike. Is it good for your psyche when you're 20,000 push-ups ahead of somebody and then they catch you and then they're now, I don't know, 20,000 ahead of you? Is that good for you? Or?
Well, if you have an iron psyche and will like myself, who I nicknamed myself the tortoise because I have a shell that protects me. And I'm just cruising along. At some point, you're going to give up or there's going to be something. I'm going to catch you. So in due time. But that's a good point too, is like doing competitions with people, talking. I like to talk, so do you. I'm not going to say the word because we're family friendly here. But when you go back and forth with people, it helps you motivate. You want to get up early. You don't want to let them down. You send videos back and forth. I've seen a lot of people doing group workouts at home. So they'll log in like this, and then they'll do the workout together. It's pretty cool. Figure out what works. Now you have a time to test things. So just figure it out.
All right, next question. Matt in Atlanta.
Matt McConaughey.
We get all these famous people that write into us, man. It's good.
He's my guy.
So good.
Love Matt McConaughey. When my hair grows out because everything's shutting down, I figure I'm going to look like him.
So, and this, Mike, I want you to touch on this because what you were saying before would definitely apply to this. I've been toying with the idea of starting a side business as a general contractor, which obviously requires being in people's homes, which can't happen right now. Do I wait until this corona passes? It sounds weird. Do I wait until this corona passes or still go for it right now?
This is what I would do. I would, knowing that you can't physically go into people's houses, but people are at home doing home projects, make a bunch of content on YouTube of you doing things and tips for contracting, branded as Mike Pirelli Contracting, so that whenever it kicks up again, there are people still out doing things. You're situated and you have enough brand equity where you can start your own thing.
Right. So,
and
Mike,
keep you busy.
No, it's a beautiful point, but take it even further. You putting out simple videos may sound like stupid, but what it does is it actually builds trust. Right? So people will trust you. And if you're putting up videos for somebody like myself, because I can tell you right now, Matt, I am not the handy type. So if you just did things like changing light bulbs and not cracking them, because I have a tendency to, when I turn light bulbs, they crack. So if you're putting Lenny from Of Mice and Men, that's me.
There you go.
So, what you would do though is basically build trust, and then you're teaching me a new skill. But now once something is too far out of my lane and I'm not able to fix it, Matt might be the first one to call. So that's a good point there to build trust in ways. But like, have we ordered our business cards? Have we started, a new social media? Right, a new social media account. Have we sat down and created a list of every single contact that we have? So when we're ready to push this out, we're ready to do it. Are you a good writer? And if you're not a good writer, do you have somebody that can draft up an email to get things going for you? So I think there's tons of ways. So basically both of us are saying, if you're trying to start something, now is a good time, right?
Yeah, there's a terminology, work on your business, not in it. So this is the time to work on your business and develop your game plan. But the videos, I love the video stuff because I see myself doing something like this in the future. If you have a bunch of clients that are asking all these questions, if you could point them to a couple of videos or a series that walks them through the basic things, you're staying in front of them, you're providing value, and you're also being able to use that for social media marketing. So it's like there's so many ways that you can make one video work for you in 5 different ways. So it's just a good use of time.
It's beautiful. And it's something that you and I talk about all the time, but it's so interesting to see how you gain a following off of just going out and bringing value to people, right? Finding your niche in your market, bringing value. It's just crazy because you never think about it because we're selfish as human beings, and you never realize that doing things for other people brings it back. Like we're seeing for us right now, like us putting out content. I mean, it's a slow grow for us, but the Instagram is not like follows every day, just multiple follows. You know, Lauren jumping in with her marketing piece has been phenomenal for us. So there's so many different things that even though we can't get in the booth and record the same way we're doing it, still got to figure it out.
And you could FaceTime people, you know, like if you have a project, you just FaceTime them. You can give them a quote. I know you have to physically be there to give an accurate one, but you can at least say, all right, well, we're in your first level. This is the kitchen. All right, I'm looking at that wall. I got to figure out if that's this. But can you show me this part of the house? I want to look at the electrical. And you could still do it. It's going to be a pain, but you can still do it.
Yeah, it's not easy right now, and I wish I knew more of Matt's situation. You know, I don't know. Is he just starting the business? Has he already pressed play on certain things? But you know, Matt, definitely take this time now and develop that business. Do not give up on what you're trying to do, man. All right, Mike. So this might be our newest section that comes in. So Megan wrote in, and there was a bunch of like. Crying eye faces, and it was a would you rather section.
Okay. Oh Jesus.
So
who's famous that's named Megan? Megan Trainor.
Megan Trainor. There you go.
I like
nice. Her. All right. Good. So, and it has nothing to do with the No Snooze podcast or any of that. It's just kind of like a fun segment. But I want to hear your answers here. Would you rather be 4'5" or 7'7"?
Oh, this is a good one. Do I have to ask you a follow-up. Do you have athletic ability?
I don't. This is what she wrote in.
So here's my answer. Let me answer because I have some thoughts right off the bat. If I'm either way, if I have athletic ability, I'm in. If you're 4'5" and you're an athletic freak, you could be a jockey, crush it. If you're 7'7", you play some basketball, maybe a fighter, that'd be pretty sick to just be a monster fighter.
7'7" fighter.
But if it was no athletic ability, if I have my current athletic ability, but you just blew me up to 7'7", no way. No way. I would go down to 4'5". My house would exponentially grow bigger because flying would be so much easier. I would have to eat less. I would save money. 4'5" is the way to go.
So I actually agree with you, ironically, because if you start, and you can't start.
We can ask my brother. We can ask my brother. See what he thinks.
You can't start thinking of the athletic ability or not. But I was thinking about like flying and driving a car. Like I can't be 7'7", so I agree. I would be 4'5".
And no offense to people who are 7'7" with no athletic ability. I just think it's very difficult to do a lot of things at that. Yeah. No snooze mindset, I'd make it work. I mean, I'd figure out some skill set. I would go into a house and just like touch the ceiling and be like, yeah, this is 9 feet. Or, you know, there's ways to leverage it. Right. Eating contests, that's where it'd be real good.
Here's another one for you. Win the lotto or live twice as long.
Ooh, I'd do twice as long. Because I think if I won the lotto, I wouldn't live half as long.
Yeah,
I'd do something stupid.
I don't know. I might go against you there because if it's win a lot, if it's win the lotto, right, how much money? But yeah, I'm assuming you're good for life. But if I was able to win the lotto and live out my planned life as planned, because it doesn't say, you know, me dying in 10 years, but if I can win the lotto and live out my whole life, I would choose that than just to live twice as long. I might be broke, bro. I don't know. Well,
time's your biggest asset. So if you do compound interest, you could crush it if I live for 250 years.
Yeah.
Would I stay like this, or am I like actually
Benjamin
look like
Button.
I'm 250?
I've seen that. Benjamin Button.
That's a good movie. Brady P.
I'm a movie guy.
That's a great question. But the lotto thing, my thought is if you get a bunch of money and don't really earn it, you don't have all the skill sets to manage it, and you're over your head, and then the smart people take it from you because they know how to.
No, but put it into context though. If you were to get that money right now, like if I were to get that money right now, I have enough, you know, common sense to be able to invest for the twice, you know, for 3 generations and beyond.
Yeah, you could throw it into an index fund, live forever off of it, but there's a lot of smart people out there that will get a hold of you because they know, and they'll convince you of other things.
Yeah,
that's just my thought.
You would be an easy target. You would be an easy target. If you hit the lotto,
and I'd be down for a lot of stuff.
I'm like, Mike, put 100,000 into this podcast tomorrow.
Done.
Absolutely.
Done. I'd probably put millions into it. No problem. Gear, we'd have a clothing store.
Right.
No, I'd be smart with it, but I just think if you earn it, it's much more rewarding, number one. Number two, you're much more prepared to manage it.
Right.
I worry about, like, that Broke documentary. You ever see that documentary?
No.
30 for 30. It's about why a lot of pro athletes go broke. And it talks about that. It says, well, a lot of times they're getting all this money, and then there's people around them that look to exploit them, and they're not prepared to manage the money. So they look to someone else to do it, and no one's going to manage your money as well as you will. So then, therefore, it goes awry. But that's just... and they think the money's going to always roll in. It's good. It's a good
no, of course. That's a good point. I mean, you look at Mike Tyson, and I think Allen Iverson had a big issue with that too. So many athletes go through that. Last one on the would you rather section: stop world war or stop world hunger. I'll go on this one because immediately for me it was hunger. Right, yeah. Because I think people are always going to find a way to fight. So whether
they're fighting because they're hungry,
well, that probably only adds to it. But
hangry is a real thing too.
Oh, absolutely.
Ask my wife.
But world, I don't think that like no country should not have armies to protect themselves. Right. So keep the war in play. I wouldn't want it to be as crazy as it is today, but seeing everybody and seeing the hunger that's out there, I think that would be the most important issue by far for me. I get an opportunity now to just help out with some food banks and provide meals to the less fortunate. This is something that even in college we did a midnight run. I spoke of Pat Scanlon in like past episodes. And he always made sure that we did that type of stuff. And that was only in like our local communities in New York City. But if I had the power to stop world hunger, absolutely.
Yeah, that's I think the right choice. But it's
but Mike would do the opposite.
No, there's a lot of follow-up questions. A lot of follow-up questions to that one. What habit that people do would you stop in general if you could just snap your fingers?
Stop saying "to be honest" when
really out of everything. That would be your main thing.
No, absolutely not. So like, a terrible habit. No. A pet peeve of mine is when you are chewing extremely loud.
Oh, like, that's a good one.
Potato chips don't bother me because it's a crunchy food, but when you're sitting there and snapping your gums,
drives me crazy. Drives me nuts. But I did read an article that said that if that is you are smarter. That's what I read. Like there's some type of gene you have. Oh,
so my wife's a genius. My wife's a genius.
Huh? No, not if you're chewing. If it irritates you if you listen.
Oh, good. There we go. Not that Karina, babe, I love you. You don't chew loud. You're perfect.
I agree. I second that. That would be a good one. I think people driving on the left that slow down drives me crazy.
Oh. That's definitely a good one. So that might be, Mike, this might be a section that we have to incorporate, the Would You Rather section.
To snooze or not snooze? Do you snooze on it or you no snooze it?
Beautiful. So this will bring us to Dave's Dime of the Week.
Dimes.
The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. I feel like today... sorry.
I like how we have quotes and we have no idea who says it.
Listen, if you said it, you said it. If right, exactly. I'm saying it. I'm regurgitating it. So that's why it's Dave's dime.
All right. Well, I'll fly into this. As everyone knows, I like them short and sweet, just like the name Miguelito. So this is Miguelito's mantras.
Ito.
Nice. It doesn't happen to us. It happens for us.
Do you know who said that?
Probably Benjamin Franklin.
So that's a big.
No, he definitely did. He definitely.
So you don't even listen to me when I speak, when I preach to you. No, because this is an Ed Milet thing, man. Everything.
He didn't say that.
Happens.
He didn't say that.
What?
It's not his quote. He might have said it. It's not his quote.
It's a big part of his I like his
Ed,
whole thing.
But he's just not my guy. He's not my top 5.
Listen, Ed Milet is my guy. So when I go on his jet with him, I'll leave you behind then. Sorry, kid.
I'm gonna go on I don't know who I like. Me, Kevin's pretty cool. I like him. He's got a Tesla. I'll ride in the Tesla with him.
Mikey, so finish us strong, kid, with...
Yes, we hit record TV.
Come on, bro.
Professional.
Finish us strong with some heat on the feet.
Listen, I don't mean to make light of the situation, but I wore these socks because we might be all ended up on the moon. So, give you what I got.
Ooh, is it a space cadet just like you?
Yeah, it's a space guy, you know.
Wait, show it. No, come back a little more.
No, in my camera, it looks good.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, got you.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to show you the bottom of the sock. I don't know how clean they are.
Oh, all right. So that's it, baby. That's Epi 14, the pandemic in the books. Until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up, get after it, and stay home.
My man.
That's another Epi in the books. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at No Snooze Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze.